What's up guys, Sekapoko here, bringing you another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. For this we're going over my multiple team compilation guide for Colosseum Time Skip Kid. Now if you guys do need replacements or you're wondering why these teams are like pay to win or whatever, a lot of these teams are made the same night that the Colosseums come out, so if you do need a lot of replacement for them, I do go over them in the video so you will be able to check out what you can use and what you can replace in the video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So let's go ahead and go over Colosseum Kid as a unit. Colosseum Kid is going to be a Dex, Striker, and Shooter character. He's going to max out with 4 sockets as well as 4 combo hits. Overall, he's kind of an interesting unit because going into the game, we know that he is going to be one of the few characters in the entire game that's going to have a very cool mechanic. Initially, he's going to start up with 28 turns. And he is going to max out at level 99 with 1,395 attack and 2,849 HP. His captain ability is going to boost the attack of Striker and Shooter characters by 2.5 and deal 5 times character's attack and Dex typeless damage to all Dex damage to all enemies at the end of every turn. He's going to have 2 limit break sailor abilities, the first of which is going to be boost the attack, HP, and recovery of Dex characters by 20, and then boost the attack of Striker characters by 30. If we go to his limit break, at max limit break, he's going to get an extra 130 attack, putting him up to 1,525 attack, so that's actually pretty darn high. And he's going to get an extra socket as well as -2 cooldown. Normally, Colosseum characters go down, take 14 sockets to max it, so he's probably going to max down at 12 turns at max limit break and be at 14 turns otherwise. So overall, he's actually a pretty fast character overall. His special ability is going to be deal 5 hits of random dex damage to random dex damage to random enemies and reduce the special cooldown of Striker and Shooter characters by 2 turns. If your captor happens to be a Striker or Shooter character, it's going to deal 350 times a character's attack damage in dex damage to all enemies at the end of every turn for 2 turns. So as a sub, a very, very interesting unit to use. A really good wave clear mechanic, which is approximately 600,000 damage wave clear at max candies and special and all that, limit break and all the other stuff, which is pretty cool. I mean, that's kind of awesome. I do want to play with this character some more. He does make for some interesting teams, and if you did want to use him to kill a boss that has resilience, it's a very helpful unit to kill bosses with resilience if you're able to get them to just above 20%. So that's really nice. Or if you're able to get him below 20% and just use that end of turn damage. He's one of those few characters in the game that actually does end of turn damage, so very, very useful for that kind of stuff. Overall, definitely an interesting character, and I'm definitely going to farm him. I don't think that he's going to be a must farm for a lot of people, but if you don't have Raid Bartolomeo and you're looking for somebody who removes resilience, there is no one else in the game. So this is another character that you can get that is free to play that does end of turn damage that allows you to kill content. Not a ton of units in the game do that, but since you're actually doing a lot of damage at the end of the turn, it might be very, very useful for you, especially if you get like an attack down debuff on the revive. Which is really useful for Colosseum Killer if you did want to do that. So overall, very, very cool. I do like this unit a lot, and it's going to work really well on the Unami team. It's going to work well with Striker and Shooter teams. Any kind of team that you're going to be using a lot of Dex units, really good for that content, or any units you're using a lot of Strikers or Shooters on your team. It does not have to be primarily Striker and Shooter, just helps out that if they are a Striker or Shooter to get that cooldown reduction. Alright guys, well I will see you in the teams. So the first stage is going to be against Urouge, and the Urouge stage is actually fairly simple. The only thing I saw that was kind of annoying was there's stage 4, there's a mini boss, and then stage 5 there's an actual boss. So Urouge I believe has like 4 million HP and gives you all block orbs, so he's really not super difficult from what I saw. I didn't really see any interrupts, I didn't really notice anything on him. I don't know if he does anything differently, but because I just blew through him so fast, it didn't even matter. On stage 4 here, we're going to have Caribou and Coraboo. You get blinded as well as you get an increased chance of perfects for 5 turns, so that gets kind of annoying. And I didn't realize it, but I had barrier penetration here, so it made it so much easier. And if you do kill one of them, then you're actually going to get an attack down debuff. So what I decided to do is I just used Tashiki here to get rid of it. I was like, oh, that actually works perfectly. For the Hawkins stage, what we did here was we brought the G4 team just because everyone was like, use the G4 team. And really the only character that you want to bring here that's like super, super nice is Raid Barto. Because the final boss is going to have a resilience buff for 4 turns. And on the 4th turn before the resilience buff goes away, he's going to attack you for like a million damage or 100,000 damage or something ridiculous. Pretty much any team with quick damage and you're totally fine. You don't need any of these units. It's very easy to beat free to play. Tons of different things. The final boss is going to have a % damage reduction for 2 turns, which you can remove with Barto. I didn't realize till afterward that Barto could remove that, and I was like, oh, I guess you can. So, on the stage with Bonnie and Capone, they don't really have much HP. You can see about 800,000 on the Bonnie, not a ton, and the Capone has a high armor value. Only thing with Capone is don't kill Bonnie and then not kill Capone, because then he'll summon 3 guys behind him, and that's kind of annoying. Here we're just gonna use the Barto to get rid of all the stuff, and then use everything we possibly can for damage here, and just attack with 3 units, and then bam, he dies in like 1 hit. So for the first team we ran of the night, I did it the first time with the G4 and the new Whole Cake Island batch, and instead of using the Brook the first time I cleared this, I used the new Nami. And I decided that after using the Nami 1 or 2 times that, you know, it might be better just to use the Brook because he's strength and there are 2 Dex mini bosses. So it ended up becoming a little easier, especially if you miss a grate or hit a grate or something like that in between. It's a little bit easier for you to just survive that. Stage 1, we just have 3 guys in the middle, or 4 guys in the middle, and of course some turtles. The whole point here is to eat some meat orbs and make sure that you can get your tank ban ups or your gear 4 up, so you can actually have a lot easier time with this place. The side guys will bind the opposing color by 5 turns, and the Despair ladies only despair for 3 turns, so you should be fine as long as you have sockets. If you don't have sockets like I don't have here, I'm like, well, you know. I was farming Luffy sockets and I kind of get distracted. Other things going on. After this stage, the whole point of these 2 stages, in my opinion, is all you got to do is start them off those meat orbs, and once you get enough meat orbs, you're totally good to go. Overall, this team is really safe, and I recommend using this team if you do have it. It's probably the easiest team and the best team that we ran today. As far as teams go, there are some other teams that work and do this very easily, and I might be using some other ones. Stage 3, we're going to have Heat and Wire. Heat is the strength one, Wire is the dex one. They're going to convert all orbs into strength and lock all orbs for 3 turns. Now, what's really weird about this is that I have on here that below 20%, all orbs get changed to quick. What we figured out using the Magellan team is that actually is not true. I think it's like every turn below a certain HP threshold, they're going to switch between quick and strength. And that's really weird. But you cannot use any kind of orb manipulate on here, and you have to kill both of them in the exact same turn, or otherwise you get really bad stuff happening. And the same thing is true for stage 4 with Killer and Kid. You have to kill them both in the same turn, otherwise you get bad stuff happen to you. You're gonna get paralyzed for 4 turns. I thought it was 3 because of the some of the sailors I had, but it's actually 4 turns. And on turn 1, not initially, they're gonna actually put up a 99 as a delay immunity. But you can delay them for multiple turns early on, which is what we did here. We did early turn delay. On death, Killer is going to enrage himself. Sorry, no, on Killer's death, Kid will enrage himself for 99 turns. And on Kid's death, Killer is going to give you not an attack up, but a attack received debuff. So you could actually get more damage taken increased by, I believe, 2-fold or more. I don't really know how much it is, but it's a lot. With here, I'm actually able to just switch to the gear 4s and then from the previous turn, and we're able to just do enough damage to kill them both. And this is the reason I brought the Strength Brook instead of the Nami, is because the Strength Brook makes it so I can actually hit some grates in the middle and actually kill them. On the final room here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pop both of your Luffys because you're not able to use them. If you're a little concerned you don't have enough damage, you can actually pop your Luffy in another stage if you'd like. It doesn't really matter when, but I would recommend popping it on the final room just so you can have as many turns as Gear 4 Tankman as possible when going on this final boss. Initially, Kid is going to have 4 million HP and do about 12,000 damage every 2 turns. On the revive, it's going to change to a 1-turn attack interval. Preemptively, he's going to give you a 50% attack downer-ish and for 2 turns. And he's also going to have a 20% end-of-turn HP cut buff on himself. So he's also going to give you anti-healing for 20 turns as well, so you can't use any healing going into this final boss. On turn 1, he's going to silence both of your captains, so this is why I recommend popping both of your Gear 4 specials when you go into the final boss here. And then on turn 3, he is going to give you a negative beneficial orb enable for 3 turns. So you're going to want to kill him very quickly in 2 turns if at all possible, unless you're using a team that does not rely on using attacks. Anytime you use any kind of orb manipulate on this entire place, you're going to get a lot of bad things happening to you. So do not use any kind of orb manipulate characters. That includes using strength orbs and the strength orbs with treasure mode Ace. So be careful there. On the final boss here, you can see we are then going to just going all in on him with his 5-turn perfect barrier. And what I did here was I actually just decided I wanted to take another hit just for fun. And then I popped the Pedro and the Brook. Now, I didn't have to. I could have actually just attacked through it. And what you're supposed to do is just attack through it. But, I just was memeing at this point and said, screw it. Team of the night, we're running a Luffy Ace team with the new Gear 4 friend captain, just in case you do not have him, and we're using a full free spirit team. We're using Shirahoshi for the attack the paralysis removal, and using Marco for the attack down removal on the final room. There are a couple different ways you can run this team. Just know that the treasure mode, not the treasure mode, the Luffy Ace is a little bit trickier to use because you can't really use his orb boost, so you have to use his orb. You have to use him on another turn, but you can use swaps, so that's really nice. The nice thing here is that you can actually get all strength orbs matching, so you don't have to worry about the damage as much. And if you do want to use a little bit different things here, you can. What I did here is I did a little bit extra damage, and they get all swapped to quick orbs because they just swap between different turns. And if you actually switch to the Gear 4 Luffy, or if you switch to the Gear 2 Luffy, you can actually get quick orbs matching. So it makes it really nice, so you can actually switch between both to get matching orbs. On the next room here, we have Killer and Kid, and I use Shirahoshi to completely remove the the paralysis, but I don't have anything to remove the the damage cap debuff. So what I do here is I actually just attack for a few different turns and heal up with the Shirahoshi in order to get a little bit extra damage in. It was really kind of unfortunate that I didn't bring anybody like that to remove it, but I didn't have anybody that removed attack down and paralysis and the damage threshold. I could have brought a couple different other units, but they would rely on bringing some of the newer units, and I really didn't want to bring those in a second team so I can have some diversity here for you guys. On turn 2, Killer's going to do a 50% HP cut to your team, so just know that you have to be a little bit careful here if you're not completely sure what she's going to do here. Then we have Kid, who doesn't really do anything until he gets below 20%. So just don't get Kid below 20%. You should be okay. What I do here is I pop my Luffy Ace special because I'm not going to be able to pop it again the entire place. And I make sure I'm on Ace so I can get enough damage here. And if they do orb manipulate you, what's really nice about this team is that for all the beneficial orb manipulate you have, you're going to have a lot of matching orbs. So you should be perfectly fine as far as matching orbs go. And with all the extra strength characters here, I do more than enough damage with one orb boost to kill everybody in one turn. The final room here, we're going to have the attack down coming in right away. I got kind of unlucky with the orbs here going in, but what I do is I pop the Marco special to remove the attack down entirely, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not really sure how much damage I'm going to get, but I have to pop my Luffy special here because I will not be able to get another chance to get everything up. So what I do is I actually just decide, you know what, I'm going to 2-turn this, and we're going to see if we can kill this guy within 2 turns, not just 1 turn, and it ends up working out okay. You can see if you do not get a mismatching orb or bad orb luck here, you're perfectly fine. And what happened here was just really funny. I actually got badly matching orbs twice in a row, which is really weird. But then he was able to use the Sabo special as well as V2 Rayleigh in order to get enough damage to kill him. And the team is actually strong enough to do this with only 5 units out of the 6 with the badly matching orb on the Luffy Ace. So this team is probably one of my favorite teams of the day. This is a fan-created team by a guy named DRKZ1M that was popping on the stream for us, and it was actually a really cool team. He said he's using Lucy with the new G4, and I was like, I really wanted to see that because I've been wanting to see it somebody do it. And what's really good is he used the new Sengoku with this team to get the attack down removal, which is really great, but he had to use 4 quick units. So the replaceable unit on this team is the Treasure Mode Gear 4 Luffy. Completely replaceable. You do not need him at all. He's just there for the attack, and it's kind of like a meme to bring in. The 6-star Usopp is actually a very funny pick, and I love this pick because it's such a troll pick. And the reason it's a troll pick is because you can actually delay on this content, and I was just like, wow, I cannot believe you can delay here. It's so bad. So on turn 3 here, what I do is I just kill everything and actually miss a perfect, but I'm able to kill everything even with missing a perfect, so the team's that strong. And then I switch off gear 4, and then of course switch into my Usopp, and then I try to hit some perfects on my Luffy, but I actually forgot to do it on the first turn in order to get my gear stacks back, but it ended up working out okay anyways. But I got paralysis on bad luck a bunch of times here, unfortunately, and I don't get a ton of stacks. So now that everything's gone, what I'm gonna do here is we have no attack. We have no paralysis left. We have 2 turns left in the delay, which is really funny, and we can actually just chill out and do enough damage over the course of like 2 or 3 turns here because of how much time we have in this team just to delay out and kill these bosses. So it's actually a really funny team, really creative, that you can just delay with the Usopp forever on the stage. So I thought that was really, really funny. And if you do want to, if you do bring your Treasure Mode Gear 4, you can actually use it on this stage just for fun. That's what I did in order to just get enough damage, and it works out perfectly fine. The only thing you got to worry for is that you have enough HP going into the final part here, because you don't want to get killer too low, because you can mess up and actually die if you get killer too low. So just be a little cautious. Into here, I take a hit and make it so that, you know what, I'm just gonna take a hit on the killer and then just switch over to the kid and then go in. But just don't get killer too low, because if you don't kill below 20%, he's gonna do like a 15,000 hit. So be a little cautious and don't do dumb stuff. But it happens all the time. And what I use here is since I use the gear 4 here, I'm able to get color affinity and get the what's it called? The 600,000 damage. I mainly did it for the 600,000 damage. The color affinity didn't help me at all. Really, so you don't really need it. On the final boss here, what we're going to be doing is popping the G4, and you can, it's really funny, you actually can pop the Lucy special on the previous room for damage, and I didn't realize it until after. I was like, I guess I'll pop the Lucy special here to get my 4 perfects and get everything done, but then I ended up killing the boss. Since I killed the boss in 4 perfects, then I realized the Pedro isn't going to be useful. So you can actually use a different character instead of Pedro. If you do this team correctly, you can actually use a different character, but Pedro team. It was another fan created team, but the guy who created it didn't help me out at all. His name is Bite 24261, and I had to like guess on how to beat the content. This is a really funny team, and there's a lot of older units. Int Vonkov is not super needed here. It's basically here for a little bit of extra healing, but you can replace it with another damage reducer or a little bit of extra damage if you do want to. My recommendation is any other damage reducer is fine here for the Int Vonkov. If you want to use another delayer, that also might help you out here just a little bit. Delayer might be great, or another damage reducer, like a 90% damage reducer, that would also help out here. So whatever you want to bring, perfectly fine, instead of the Int Vonkov if you don't have it. The 20th Nami kind of needed, because the 20th Nami is like a really, really big damage reducer, and you can replace her with Alvida. And the Stronghold Usopp, if you do try to bring another quick delayer, that's 3-turn delayer, I don't think that exists in the game, that would work, but I don't think there's any other delayers that you can bring here that would fit this criteria, unfortunately. If you did have another delayer that would work for 3 turns, that would be fine, but the Stronghold Usopp's kind of like an OG unit that comes in the clutch here, which is really funny. But I use him on turn 3 here in order to make sure I get enough damage and the paralysis removal here. And we used the Magellan on stage 3 because I wasn't really sure how to use that on different turns here. And the reason I wanted to use the Usopp on stage 4 here is because I have to deal with lots of turns of paralysis anyways, and it might be better to use it here. You could try using the final boss, but I thought it was better to use here, even with the 50% HP cut, because then you can use Barto to heal it back up. If you want to use another healer here, that would also work out, so there are other options. Other damage reducers and healers, so try to flip-flop on there. So what I do is I pop Magellan on turn 1 to get the toxic effect up, and then we're just going to be chilling out and taking 1 hit from the kid. You just have to make sure you have enough HP to take 1 hit from the kid, and then Right here, we do barely enough damage to kill him after we take that one hit. So you can see we're trying to hit perfects here, and it did about 370,000 with that poison hit. And now we're like, oh, I don't know, do I need damage reduction? I'm not sure. So I go in for the final hit here, and it looks like it was enough damage because he's 4 million HP. So the HP cuts come in here for 100,000 each and 750,000. So it's about 1 million at under 20%. So I was a little scared there. So make sure you just do a little bit of extra damage, and it might be okay. On the final boss here, just make sure you hit one, when he revives, just make sure you hit one perfect so you get the HP cuts off, and it's going to hit his, the 2 million poison, and you have Force Pop the Nami in order to reduce the damage, and then you're done. Alright guys, well my name is Sekapoko, thank you so much for watching, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you smack the like button down below, as well as the subscribe button down below, so we get lots of support in the channel, and of course, keep the channel growing. If you guys do want to get notifications on all my videos, make sure you hit the bell notification right next to it so you get notifications every time I drop a video. If you want to check out the last couple videos, they're right over there, and you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.